All right, everybody, welcome to the very first episode of the Great Starts Dog Training Podcast. This is a podcast where we are going to discuss all things dog. That will include dog training, that will include dog tips and tricks, breed discussions, new products out there on the market to enhance and benefit the lives of dogs and their parents together. This podcast is done to be educational and helpful and hopefully provide a positive resource for individuals who are looking to get more insight into their dog and how they can enhance their current relationship with them. As we dive into this podcast, you're going to recognize rather quickly that I am not a professional podcaster. I am a professional dog trainer. I have been training dogs for several years now. I've worked with hundreds of dog owners and dogs ranging in all different sizes, behavior temperaments, and current levels of training, I guess you could say. And I truly find a joy in this industry because dogs are one of the greatest gifts to mankind, and I am a firm believer in that. I know that my life, just as an example, would not be as full if I did not have my dogs in it. I grew up with dogs. I have found any excuse whatsoever to interact with dogs, and it brings me a lot of joy and happiness to see the transformations that I'm able to help other dog owners have with their dogs, whether that's helping someone with an incredibly anxious dog where they can't take their dog out anywhere for fear of what their reaction might be, or it could be a brand new dog owner who just got their first ever puppy and is feeling a little overwhelmed, or someone who's a little more experienced but they're faced with a dog that they've never been faced with before and they need a little bit of extra help. My ability to come into a situation, evaluate a situation, and then start to form a plan on how to be successful is something that I pride myself on, being able to form those connections not only with the people, but with the dogs as well, because that's really the main focus, right? When we think about dog training, a lot of it has to do with connecting with the humans, getting the humans to see what they might have been missing, getting the humans to get on a new routine, which in turn puts the dog on a new routine, and you start to see the ripple effects from there in the benefits of consistent and continual training on the right things. So as we dive into this podcast experience, I am always going to be open to suggestions and feedback because I want to improve and I want to be a resource for individuals all over the place who are struggling with their dogs, or maybe they want to learn a little bit more about dogs, and I hope I can provide that. So that's going to be the goal and the focus of this attempt here. And along with the podcast here at Great Starts Dog Training, we also have a website, which is just greatstartsdogtraining.com. We are also on YouTube. We are very active on our Facebook page and our Instagram. There's multiple resources and ways for individuals to contact us. And right now we are currently located in the Idaho Treasure Valley area. And that's why we're hoping that these podcasts and the YouTube channel and all that kind of stuff will be able to be a benefit to individuals who are not here, that we're not able to actively engage with. So that's enough for a little bit of an intro there. And I am wanting to kind of get in on, why we want to train our dogs. Why do we want to spend the time to do the repetition over and over and over, even just on one little task until our dog does it perfect. Why are we striving for perfection? I mean, it's impossible for somebody to be perfect. It's impossible for a human to be perfect. It's impossible for a dog to be perfect. But why do we want to strive for perfection? Why do we want to continually practice and tweak and improve on things that we've done for a long time? Let's take teaching a dog to sit, for example. There's numerous ways that you can go about teaching your dog to sit. There's numerous resources that you can go about to find ways to teach your dog how to sit. But you're not going to get the results that you want if you don't make it a daily habit. If you don't make it a continual, every single day, we're going to incorporate this motion, this cue, so that your dog solidifies, A, that's what this word means, right? And then B, oh, they're serious when they say this, right? We don't want our dogs to think, oh, I got 5, 6, 7 chances before my human is going to really mean it. We don't want our dogs to think that way. So when we're teaching our dogs a skill, like sit, for example, I call that one of the foundational skills in dog training. We want to hit it over and over and over and over until our dogs respond quickly, and they respond and hold it, right? We don't want our dogs to just sit their bum down and then immediately pick their bum back up. When we want our dogs to sit, the expectation is that you're going to sit and you're going to wait until I give you the next direction. That next direction could be that you're just going to count to 10. Next direction could be, okay, we're going to continue walking, whatever that might be. But the only way you're going to get that consistent response is if you do the consistent practicing. There is a huge misconception out there in the dog training world that, you go through these training programs if you're working with a professional trainer, or you're doing a company group lesson, or, you're just trying to figure things out on your own with YouTube. If you don't continue to practice, your results will go away, or you will never get the results that you're looking for to begin with, because your dog is never going to take you seriously enough to listen right away, and then your dog is not going to develop that foundation of knowing what the word means and responding accordingly. Because dogs don't just come out of the blue knowing English, right? We are teaching them to associate certain words with certain aspects. And to give you an example, I have 2 very intense dogs, right? I have a Border Collie Blue Heeler mix, who's a 50-50 split, and then I have a Border Collie something mix. We were only told that her mom was a Border Collie, and we haven't done the DNA test yet on her. When I'm working with my dogs, because yes, even a professional dog trainer will routinely work with their dogs. You have to do it. So when I work with my dogs, I will go over a cue 100 times. I will do it over and over and over and over, to the point where I can now go to one of my dogs and I can tell them to do something, or, say we're out on a walk or we're going somewhere different and I need them to do this particular thing. Like I need them to sit and stay or wait or whatever, you name it. I need to have that dependability and reliability on my dog that they're going to listen, so that no harm or anything comes to them, right? Whether they decide to run off or they decide to not listen and go jump around, whatever it is. If I don't do that consistent practice with my dogs, they're not going to have that consistent response. And that's on me. That is not on them. When we think, oh, our dogs are, they just aren't going to listen, right? Well, you're right. They won't listen all the time. They're going to learn what these words are, and then you're going to reach a fun stage where your dog is going to decide that they don't want to listen anymore. They're going to ignore you. They're going to push boundaries. They're going to make your life difficult. And how we get around that? Keep practicing. Follow through. You tell your dog to do something, you are going to follow them until they listen. If your dog has a lot of space, then you are going to put a long leash on them or just put a regular leash on them. Have some way to get control and follow through. Otherwise, your dog will never know that you're really serious. They will always have a level of, meh, they're not serious. I don't need to listen right now. And for the safety of our dog, we got to break that. That has to stop. So always make sure that you are following through with what you say with your dog. And then another fun little tip here is if your dog is deciding to go through one of those regression periods, because you think about the life of your dog, you get them from a puppy, they're going to be learning, growing, puppyhood stage, right? And then you're going to get into they're a little bit older. Now you're going to hit the teenager stage. They're going to start pushing some boundaries a little bit. They're going to start challenging you a little bit. And then once they get through that, you might have a period of time where they're doing okay. And now you're going into a fear period, right? They might become scared of things that they used to not be scared of before. Once you get them through that, they're in the young adult phase. You might go through another little regression period where they're going to decide they don't want to listen anymore. When you get through that and they're in their adult stage, you're more than likely going to have a well-balanced and consistent dog, but it can always still have regressions, right? Because again, it goes back to if we don't practice, if we do not follow through, if we do not remain consistent, the skills aren't going to stay there. And when your dog goes through those prior phases, it's important to get them back on that routine. If you've laxed a little bit on whatever your training routine was, get them back on it. If you have decided that you don't want to, be as strict with their door manners or their leash walking manners or anything like that, you're going to start to see those skills decline over time. So if you find yourself going into a particular regression period or fear period or anything like that, go back to the fundamentals, go back to the core of what you do. And if your dog is just really having a hard time and you yourself need the support, go find a trainer. There's a reason why dog trainers exist. If dog training was the easiest thing in the world, dog trainers would not be in business. There's a certain level of understanding and skill and knowledge that dog trainers have that we can assist a plethora of people with. There's probably hardly any situation that I have not come across in my professional dog training career. Whether that's aggression, anxiety, fear, just overall excited puppy, challenges in the home, reactivity outside, any kind of thing, you name it. Professional dog trainers are the ones who will consistently and routinely keep their knowledge up to date, study on new techniques, new processes, try new things, learn from other individuals, right? Dog trainers are continually learning. And because of that, we're able to take the knowledge that we have and help individuals who are struggling with their dogs. Because if it was so easy, so perfect, never a shadow of a doubt, dog trainers wouldn't exist. That's just point blank. So because of the education, the knowledge, the know-how, the experience that professional dog trainers have, if you need help, go and make the investment to work with a trainer. And if there's not a trainer in your area, a lot of them nowadays are developing virtual training programs. There are a number of different ways that you can get the support that you need, because to make your life happier with your dog, you got to put in the work, you got to put in the effort, and you got to mean it. And if the best way for you to mean it is to put in that investment and have that person looking over your shoulder and meeting with you every week or every couple days, whatever your setup is, then do it. Because ultimately, your success and your dog's success is going to come down to you being able to lead, to you being able to communicate. If that communication barrier is not built up, you're going to have a difficult time with your dog. And that's not to say that it's not possible for you to do, right? If you apply yourself and you're able to do it, awesome. That's great. If more people put in the time to work with their dogs, there would be less dogs entering the shelter every year. And that's just a fact, right? Most of the time, dogs go into the shelter, it's because the dog was too much for the family. Either the family had kids and they didn't, teach their dog how to react around the kids, but most importantly, they didn't teach their kids how to behave with the dog, because that's a very important little notation there. And so they end up in the shelters, or they end up in rescues, or worse, they end up dumped. And most of the time, they depart from this world because of that. So the moral of this whole episode here is we are here to be a resource. We are here to provide tips. We are here to provide discussions, whatever we can share that would be beneficial for dog owners of any dog, really, any experience level, you name it. We're here to be a resource. And we want to continue our mission of getting as many dogs out of the shelters as we can and get dogs to stay with their families in a good environment and help families develop that good environment with their dog. So if you're able to get some benefit with this podcast, awesome. If you're able to get some benefit with our YouTube videos, awesome. If you want to get some benefit with our social media posts and tips that we post sometimes, great, do it. If you are in the Treasure Valley area in Idaho and you'd like to connect and see what training would look like for you, reach out. You can reach out to us on our website, greatstartsdogtraining.com. You can reach out to us via our social media accounts. And we would be happy to talk with you, to develop a plan and set a course for you to be successful with your dog. So, thank you very much for listening, and I hope you were able to receive some sort of insight and value into this episode. As we progress in our abilities with podcasts, we are hoping to loop in some other individuals in the dog training world and just make this more resourceful for you as we go on. So thank you for listening, and I hope that we will catch you listening on the next one.